2014, creating a county ordinance prohibiting law enforcement officers from concealing their identities in Los Angeles County unincorporated areas, which was held by Supervisor Hahn. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1, then 0 now to comment on this item.
Supervisor Hahn. I'm sorry, I thought, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I was waiting for your permission to speak.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. As we know, for over a month now, residents of Los Angeles County have experienced countless horrifying raids by federal ICE agents. These agents have racially profiled and violently detained community members who were simply going about their days, catching the bus to go to work, going to watch their child graduate, or taking their kids to school. And these ICE agents who have conducted these raids have completely hidden their identities. Being forcibly detained by a federal officer in the middle of the day is scary enough. Having it done by someone wearing a face mask or balaclava whose name and badge are completely covered up is even more disturbing. And many of them arrive to these raids in unmarked vans. Some of times their license plates have been blurred. In contrast, our local law enforcement always shows their faces, identifies themselves when engaging with the public. So I should be held to that same standard. This motion today directs County Council to draft a county ordinance that would prohibit all law enforcement officers, including state and federal, from concealing their identities while interacting with the public in the unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County, and to bring that ordinance back to this board in 60 days for approval. The ordinance should be drafted in a way that accounts for certain allowable exceptions when they are required for legitimate law enforcement duties, like gas masks, smoke masks, medical grade masks, or underwater masks. And we're not the only ones trying to make it clear that all law enforcement must identify themselves, their agencies, and their faces when interacting with the public. Senator Padilla introduced a bill at the federal level that would require this for federal agents, including ICE. And there have been 2 bills introduced in the California State Assembly, and this board has unanimously voted to support all of those bills. But we have an opportunity, and I think we need to act right now within our jurisdictional authority to do what we can. You know, one of the arguments I've heard against this is that ICE agents cover their faces because they're afraid of being doxxed. Okay, I understand that fear. As elected officials, we also face that risk. Our faces are very public, and I imagine every one of you has been protested one time or another. I know I've had people come to my house. We certainly have people who come to our board meeting every day and tell us that they disagree with us. So I understand that concern, but I also know that this comes with the territory of public service. There are many jobs that come with this territory, not just being an ICE agent. And I believe we need to weigh the risks. And I think it's much more of a risk to the overall safety of our communities to have mass law enforcement detaining and arresting people in public. This leads to a very, very real risk of imposters posing as police officers or ICE agents as they commit crimes. Our local law enforcement understands the importance of clearly showing their identities when they interact with the public, and ICE agents should be held to the same standard. The other big question, people are wondering, are we going to be able to enforce this ordinance when it comes to ICE? It's unclear if we here at the county can regulate federal agents. Ultimately, it's probably going to be decided in court. But regardless, it's important that we set the clear expectation that when you are in Los Angeles County, this is how all law enforcement should conduct themselves. Our communities are asking us to protect them. And I believe that implementing this ordinance will show that Los Angeles County stands up to injustice and hate by working to hold all law enforcement officers accountable to their duty to protect and to serve. This is a common sense, reasonable expectation of law enforcement in our communities. You know, all of us were raised to, when someone knocks on your door at any time of the day or night, and they say they're from maybe DWP, or they're from the gas company, or they're from the police department, what is the first thing we've been told to do? Ask for their identification. Verify that that is who they are. This is no different, and they should respect our wishes in Los Angeles County if they continue to be here. Supervisor Solis, thank you for co-authoring this motion. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you so much, Supervisor Hahn. I'm excited that you and I can bring this forward and that you experienced so much in your own district recently. It's horrific for people not to understand the gravity of this problem, that people are being stopped every single day now, even though this started almost a month ago, and people are still covering up, allegedly covering up their faces, not showing badges, coming in unmarked cars or cars that don't even have a license plate, and then throwing people on the ground without showing them a federal warrant or a reason why they're being detained or held at that point in time. And I think it's unreasonable search and seizure is what I would call it, and I know it's a violation of our constitutional and civil rights. So I totally agree with the fact that something has to be done, but we aren't the only ones calling this out. As you said, Senator Padilla has a bill. I'm sure there will be others that will be introduced in Washington, and I know in Sacramento, there's SB 627, No Secret Police Act, introduced by Senators Weiner, Arguyen, and Perez, which would ban law enforcement officers from wearing masks. SB 805, the No Vigilante Act, introduced by Senator Perez and Weiner, would require law enforcement officers to display their name or badge. It's true that this is something much greater than just LA County. This is happening in other parts of California and the state, and I do believe that we have an obligation to help stand up for our residents. Also, I want to mention that in Congress, the Visible Act was introduced by Representatives Vincent Gonzalez, Judy Chu, Sidney Cal-Lager-Dove, and Veronica Escobar, and it would require immigration officers to wear visible identification information. And as I said earlier, Senator Alex Padilla and Cory Booker also introduced a Senate version of the Visible Act that also bans non-medical face coverings of ICE agents. So at our highest levels of government, our representatives are heeding this concern and understand that we must do something about it. Supervisor Hahn, I know this took place in your district, but a few weeks ago, a Border Patrol agent, a gentleman by the name of Hodgson, who was in Los Angeles to conduct ICE raids, was arrested in Long Beach for resisting arrest and attempting to assault an officer. The police were called because while off duty, Hodgson was intoxicated and armed with a handgun and entered a woman's restroom where he approached a woman. This incident, to me, demonstrates the lawlessness of ICE immigration enforcement and the threats to our public safety. It's unfortunate that that happened, but it just tells you that we need to be very vigilant, and people need to know that whatever uniform you wear, even if you're off duty, you need to respect your role. And I think that's what we're asking for as well. Some cities in our county of Los Angeles are already taking steps to address the issue. The city of Huntington Park that you represent, Supervisor Hahn, and I used to ask the police department to verify whether masked individuals without visible ID who are claiming to be law enforcement are actually law enforcement. So you have law enforcement from our local PDs asking federal agents to identify themselves appropriately. I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. The protocol helped their police identify a man who may have been posing as a federal immigration agent and had a criminal record relating to human smuggling. How ironic. This is why I was pleased when you asked me to co-author this motion and to ask for a report back with proposed language for a draft ordinance that would prohibit law enforcement from concealing their identity, protect residents in unincorporated areas, _ and from impersonators, and send a clear message that LA County stands with our communities. I too ask my colleagues for their aye vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and thank you for the motion. And as you said, this board has unanimously supported it. And I appreciate Supervisor Sleece, you bringing up those that are impersonating law enforcement. I brought that up about a month ago, and I think Supervisor Hahn, you questioned what I was talking about when I said there are people impersonating ICE, and we've had arrests, and there have probably been countless people who have been victimized because they can't go to law enforcement because they're afraid to go to law enforcement. So I'm happy that we are acknowledging that, in fact, there are individuals out there impersonating ICE, which brings us to the issue before us today. There is no question, and that's why I've said a month ago, we should require all law enforcement, whether it be at the federal level or the state level, to show ID. And I think I asked our county council about the law on that, and I don't think we got a clear answer in terms of what the requirement is when someone is approached by someone that says they're with law enforcement. Have you found out what the answer is in terms of what the requirement is at the federal level for people to identify themselves coming forward?
Yes, the question was specifically about federal agents, and I believe my colleague who was here at the time read the provision that upon arrest, they do have to identify themselves. So that is a requirement.
Upon arrest, but prior to being arrested. I mean, that's what I think we are all collectively questioning, is when somebody is approached. And I think an example that was used a month ago, I think I talked about it, is that people can buy on Amazon clothing that looks like law enforcement, looks like the federal agents that are going out there. So the question was, is there a requirement when somebody is stopped to identify themselves or have something clearly identifying who they are and that they have to identify the agency they're with?
Other than the provision that we cited to last time, we don't. I could not, or my office could not find anything that addresses that specific issue other than upon arrest. Clearly, this ordinance would deal with that scenario, but up until now, we've not found anything that specifically addresses that particular issue.
Because and Supervisor Sleece, I brought it up a month ago that you actually were the champion as it relates to those people that were impersonating themselves as lawyers, saying that they could get people a green card or whatnot, took money and then disappeared. So there is definitely bad players out there that are impersonating and taking advantage of a vulnerable population. But my question actually now, Dawn, is to you. We're going to get a legal analysis, but my understanding is that the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause does not allow the state or the county to regulate the actions of the federal government as it relates to this. Can you touch on that?
Well, when you say as relates to this, don't know that it speaks specifically to this. At this time, we're unaware of any law that would prohibit the county from adopting this particular ordinance. However, as you note, it would most likely be challenged. It would most likely be challenged on the Supremacy Clause, which is a part of the...
Why don't you go over what the Supremacy Clause is?
It would be they would be claiming the intergovernmental immunity. That's what they would be claiming under the Supremacy Clause.
Why don't you break it down? What would qualify as the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause that we would not be able to impose regulations on? Give me specifics.
Well, I'd prefer to provide my legal analysis to this board confidentially. What I will indicate is that...
Give me one example that seems obvious.
Well, what I will say is we cannot control the acts of the federal government. They would likely claim not only the provision itself or the ordinance itself under the Intergovernmental Supremacy Clause or Immunity Clause would violate. They would claim that the ordinance violates that. They would also probably claim that enforcing it itself would be a violation of...
Does sheriff now have the job of regulating whether or not federal agents are wearing masks or not?
I'll be honest, practically speaking, I don't know how that would work. Who would enforce it would be the district attorney and the city attorneys. I will also note this particular motion is not specific. It is all law enforcement. So it's not specific. It's not an ICE ordinance.
Well,
it's an ordinance for all law enforcement.
I think we all know the comments. And again, I'm not critical of the why. It's the how. I mean, I completely believe that the unintended consequences of this all taking place are that those in communities that are the most vulnerable, that are now going underground, don't feel they can go to law enforcement report whether they've been victims or not, don't feel safe to go out, as we've heard. And now we're drafting an ordinance that's going to say, if you see someone with a mask, they're not complying with the county ordinance, therefore, and then you fill in the blank. And I feel like it's a false sense of, and I don't even want to use the word security because I don't think anybody feels secure. But at the same time, I just want to make sure we do something that, in fact, is going to protect this vulnerable population. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because I know that people have asked, who's going to enforce it? I honestly don't know. Maybe, I mean, but I'm asking, could the sheriff enforce a federal agent's? I don't know. I don't know who knows. Does anyone know?
Well,
Raise your hand. Yeah.
we can certainly address that in our report back, but I mean, I believe it would be, in terms of prosecuting, it would be the district attorney and city attorney who would file the complaints. It could either be the individual citizens, it could be bystanders looking on, it could be advocacy groups, it could be, there's a number of folks who could file complaints.
Right.
But it would be the ultimate prosecution of, the prosecutors would be the district attorney and city attorneys.
Okay, I mean, so the DA can prosecute a federal agent.
They're committing a crime, yes. If the
Well,
motion,
is
if
this
the
a
ordinance
felony
ends
or
up
is
being,
this a
if
misdemeanor?
it's
I
a
mean, these are
misdemeanor.
questions because, again, if we're doing a motion just to do a motion, I'm fine, I'll vote yes, knowing that it's gonna probably go nowhere. But I just want to put on the table what I see as the pitfalls, so that the
Absolutely.
public doesn't have a false impression about what we can and cannot do. That's all.
Which is why we'll be doing a legal analysis in our report back, and we'll hopefully research and address all these issues.
Okay, all right, Supervisor Mitchell.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this hearty discussion. First of all, I'll be supporting the motion. I supported the past motion where we looked at the legislation being passed at the state level. I agree with the question around jurisdictional authority. Would hope that if this motion passes, that council look at the state legislation, because if they are amending the penal code, then it will make it against the law, Madam Chair. And then if it's against the law, then I'd call the police on the masked man who are trying to erase me. So let's look and see if it's the penal code that's being amended.
We're looking at all those pieces of legislation, Supervisor.
At the state and the federal. If it's the penal code, then we'll know it's against the law. You call the police, and then we know, according to council, who would then have the right to prosecute. You know, I also hope that in that we're having this discussion in the public, that the organizations that are doing the Know Your Rights trainings, that this is incorporated into the Know Your Rights training so people understand. You know, it's interesting, the rationale to protect their identities. There's no other law enforcement entity that I know that wears masks, A. B, POBAR, the Police Officer Bill of Rights, is ripe with protections for law enforcement. It's full because, you know, they continue to argue and defend POBAR against all odds that because of the nature of the work they do, that they have to have some right to privacy. POBAR doesn't give them the right to cover their face with masks. POBAR doesn't give them the right to not show their badge or identify themselves. So I would suggest that other branches of law enforcement should challenge their brothers of ICE. If unmasking and showing your badge is good enough for every other branch of law enforcement, I'm not sure why ICE feels that they are different. So I'll be supporting it today. Hope that we will look at it as you develop the ordinance language, the legislation that's going through. Would also hope that, I think Supervisor Hahn referenced in terms of the judicial authority that might be decided in the court. I certainly hope that we will be poised if one of these state bills passes and it is challenged in court, that we will be poised and quickly ready to file an amicus brief to join in the court proceedings. So I'll be supporting it today and encourage us to look at POBAR, and if it doesn't, you know, if it's good enough for every other man and woman in law enforcement, why is it not good enough for ICE? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Horvath.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to Supervisors Hahn and Solis for bringing forward this motion, pushing to close the loophole on the wildly inappropriate actions of federal immigration enforcement officers, as well as any other law enforcement officers who are choosing to conceal their identity here in Los Angeles County while doing their jobs. Our law enforcement officers at the local, state, and federal levels must operate in commitment and in practice in the open with their badges and insignia identifying who they are. They should not hide, they should not conceal, and they certainly should not pretend to be something other than what they are. If the work they're doing is in the best interest of the public, why do they feel the need to hide? In fact, the very targeting some claim to fear by showing their faces is the targeting, and I would say the trauma they're perpetrating on our own community members. We demand more from our law enforcement officers, and we demand more from all law enforcement agencies operating within Los Angeles County. I'm grateful that the board passed motions to support similar state and federal legislation that's been mentioned by my colleagues, and I intend to also support this motion to make clear our commitment to transparency in protecting public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Supervisor Hahn.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to follow up on just some questions that you had. And just to be clear, when we first started having this discussion, you talked about imposters. It wasn't that I was questioning that aspect of it. I was just had experiences in my district with ICE. And I just want to say it is ICE that was conducting those horrible raids in the very beginning. I was out there with Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and her gang. So I wasn't questioning the idea of imposters. I just was saying it's ICE that's out there doing most of the harm to our communities. And, you know, whether or not this stands, whether or not we can enforce it, we've been here before on a number of values that we in LA County hold dear. We're going through right now a very serious discussion, sometimes in closed session, about how we might be exposed to this new administration based on some of our values and our principles that we hold dear. And I think, you know, it may be decided in court, but I think this is the time for our vulnerable residents, and whether or not it gives them a false sense of security, I think they need to know that their government is paying attention, is listening to them, is seeing the harm that this federal government is imposing on them every single day, and that we have the courage of our convictions to stand up and say, when you're in our county, this is how we expect you to behave as a law enforcement official, not unlike what we are asking of all of our, whether it's the Port Police, LAPD, Sheriff's Department. We're asking all of our law enforcement agencies to, when you interact with the public, identify yourself, unmask yourself, and treat the people you interact with dignity and respect. I also believe that if this ordinance passes and it comes back to us in a form that we like, I do think, you know, for some of those who have been detained unlawfully and have had illegal search and seizure, if they ever see their day in court, they could use this maybe in their defense. That, and by the way, you know, I had no idea who these masked thugs were. So I think it's time for us to stand up and, you know, if we have to see you in court, we'll see you in court.
Executive Officer, please call the members of the public who wish to testify on this item. Supervisor Hahn, we have approximately 65 people that want to testify, and I'm asking, Executive Officer was going to ask you if you wanted to limit public comment to 45 minutes, or if you want to provide the full time, just recognizing the board and you have to leave early today. And so we've got closed session. Oh, I thought you had to leave at 5 o'clock. Oh, okay. Okay, I apologize. I thought someone told me you were leaving at 5 o'clock today. Okay.
Well, whatever the board wishes.
I'm just trying to be cognizant
I feel
of
like
the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to hear our community on this one, but what would that mean if we limited it to
45 minutes.
What's the will
because
of my
we've got-
colleagues?
Yeah.
You're fine listening? Okay. Okay.
All right, knowing that we can stay beyond 5, then that helps because we've got closed session as well that we have to get to, and so I'm being cognizant of just trying to get everything voted on today. So go ahead.
Will Claudia Jerez, Eddie Poe, Elizabeth Long, Lorraine Valenzuela, and Tay Smith please come forward and staff will assist you? As a reminder for participants on the telephone, if you would like to address item 14, press 1, then 0 now to be placed in the speaking queue. Moderator, may we have the first remote speaker, please?
Caitlin Brown, your line is open. You may begin.
Okay. Thank you for letting me speak today. I wanted to say that I think LA should be the one to lead the way on this. We have an opportunity to close this hole in current operations ahead of the various state and national legislation. It's time to act in a timely manner on it, and I think it's notable that all of the previously introduced legislation brings up that this is a public safety risk because we do have people who are afraid of impersonators, who are afraid of what could happen to them, and it increases the anxiety in the community in a way that's going to lead to possibly dangerous incidents. So I would like to say that it's a chance to really serve all of us and make it clear and transparent and show the rest of the nation what we can do. And that's it.
Thank you. Next caller.
Ovidia Netterman, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Olivia Naturman, and I am a 12th grade teacher at Chavez Learning Academies in San Fernando. I've also spent the entire summer at Home Depot working to keep an eye out for workers that have been there who have faced tremendous amount of fear and anxiety, as I know that my students have with their families due to ICE agents being unmasked. I know that I also am a government teacher, and that the Fourth Amendment with search and seizure laws, where they are not identifying themselves nor having a warrant or showing a warrant, that is also something that's unconstitutional. And I have to stand up and teach my students how government works, and it is not working the way it is intended. So I ask you, and I'm in support of you voting for this measure so that students are able to lessen their fear, to know that their constitutional rights will be protected, and I appreciate you leading the nation with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Matt S., your line is open. You may begin.
Hello, thank you for offering this format of speaking. I want to identify another threat that having masked ICE agents poses. We've talked about vigilantes, and we've talked about the ICE agents themselves. Imagine yourself a January 6th rioter, a Proud Boy, any one of those militia groups. The federal government is putting, however many jobs out. We need to know, the public needs to be able to see the ICE agents so that we know that they aren't insurrectionists. Because if I'm an insurrectionist, that sounds like a good job to me. Mask up, go terrorize people. It's just another threat that I think people need to be wary of, because they're out there and the current presidential administration seems to like them. So wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Bree Serrano, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bree Serrano. I use he, they pronouns. So I've been an educator in Los Angeles County in higher education for over 10 years and have been living in LA County for most of my life. I'm incredibly fearful of going outside, going to work, etc., as a U.S. citizen who was born here, and for my family, who throughout their lives have been racially profiled. One of my students recently was taken a few weeks ago, who is a U.S. citizen, and was held for over 24 hours in a van outside of Dodger Stadium, and was able to listen to the bounty hunters hired by ICE brag about how many bodies they had taken, not even thinking about people as humans. And now they're currently receiving tens of thousands of dollars in bonuses with the $46 billion that was reallocated to ICE.
And there have been people, as previously discussed, who have bought and worn fake attire through Amazon, who have raped, beaten, and taken hostages, who are not actual federal agents. So the mask ban for federal agents and forced identification is a good first step. My concern is
Thank you. Next caller.
How would someone be? Oh, okay. Thanks.
Eric Trevin, your line is open. You may begin.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I had to, sorry, I apologize. I just,
Eric?
I don't, I can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so here, okay, thank you, I'm going. I know, I don't want to spit it out. But basically what I would say is, I think that the heart is in the right place on this one. Obviously, we cannot have masked marauders coming in without identification. That's not the American or forget LA County way. It's no appropriate way to go. But that said, I think that the federal law is what dictates these particular idiots. So I would say imposing a dumb lawsuit, no disrespect to Harrison, into a otherwise unaffordable environment is not a great area, despite the fact that I know you'd be willing to work in-house on this brilliant strategy. We just need to support the federal law and scale back the expansion of Measure G and get Measure J encoded.
Thank you.
That's
Next
the key
caller.
thing.
Kristen Dewey, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Kristen Dewey, and I live in Hollywood. I'm speaking to item 14. I beg the Board of Supervisors to vote to ban the current practice of our friends and neighbors being hunted down and grabbed off the streets and out of their homes in front of their children by unidentified masked gunmen in unmarked vehicles who may or may not be federal agents. It's horrifying, it's hideous, it's un-American. Please stand up for the Angelinos here and ban the use of face masks by ICE agents, even if the vote is only a statement that Los Angeles is officially against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Brenda Olivas, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, good morning. My name is Brenda Olivas with Spirit Family Services, and I'm calling in support of item 14, which will ban all law enforcement, including ICE agents, from concealing their identities and wearing masks while interacting with the public in the unincorporated LA County area. I'd rather see this motion in litigation and try to bring about change than watching quietly by the sidelines. So please consider this and let's get rid of these masks. And people are being taken, and we need to stop this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next caller.
Lolita Barrett, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, I'm the pastor of First Friends Church in Whittier, and I live in Whittier, and I support all of the callers and the supervisors for your comments. The least we can require of ICE agents is the integrity of showing their faces and identification to ensure they are held accountable as they exercise their duties. This is not a performative action. This is a statement of moral rectitude. Please do vote yes on this and go forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Joey King, your line is open. You may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Joey King. I'm calling in support of Supervisor Hahn and Solis's motion, number 14, to create a county ordinance prohibiting law enforcement officers, including ICE agents, from concealing their identities in LA County unincorporated areas. Let's be clear. When agents pull up in mass, no badge, no name, dressed like a tactical mystery, what we get is fear, not safety. That's not how I believe law enforcement should operate in a democracy. Since the ICE raids began in June, families across the country have been shaken, watching their loved ones detained by masked men who refuse to say who they are. That's not just terrifying, it's unacceptable. Supervisor Hahn and Solis's motion is righteous and necessary. If you've got the power to enhance or enforce the law, then you've got the responsibility to do it with your face and your name shown.
Thank you. Next
I urge
caller.
the board to pass this motion.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Michael Gray, your line is open. You may begin.
Who was that?
Go ahead, Michael.
Gray, your line is is open. You may begin.
Hi, this is Michael Gray. I'm a teacher and counselor at Long Beach Poly High School, and this is really important. Even Matthew Silverman, who's the president of federal law enforcement, said they should have identification, right? And the ICE stuff that's on Amazon is the hottest selling stuff. It's not just on there. People are buying it. Support this. It's not performative. It's a step towards making things happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Joni Ricks Odie, your line is open. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Councilmember Dr. Joni Ricks Odie. I'm a council member here in the city of Long Beach. I want to state that I strongly support Supervisor Hahn and Solis's proposed ordinance to ban law enforcement, including ICE, from concealing their identities. Mass ICE agents are abducting people in our communities without identifying themselves or following the law. This behavior is unlawful and terrifying. It is how law enforcement should be. It should not behave in a democracy. Officers must be required to show their faces and badges so they can be held accountable. I urge the board to pass this ordinance immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Eli Hanley, your line is open. You may begin.
Hey, I'm calling in support of the motion. Since the ICE raids in LA started, we've seen masked agents staking out hospitals, violently abducting people, and refusing to identify themselves. February 5th, it was reported that there were 3 states where there were incidents of impersonators, and since then there have been additional reports of such. So the question of can the sheriff enforce this? Regardless of if they can enforce it on federal law enforcement, they could enforce it against impersonators. They could stop those bad actors, like someone has said. With 2-day shipping, any of us could be impersonating an officer within 2 days. These guys have inconsistent uniforms. They're wearing jeans and running shoes. And the ability to hide their identities emboldens them to brutalize people. The concern about litigating this in court doesn't make sense to me. There's a saying, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. We had the lawsuit against Chicago for the sanctuary city status dropped recently. And there's no reason to be afraid of doing the right thing.
Thank you. Next caller.
So I just wanted to voice all that.
Maya Daniels, your line is open. You may begin.
Good morning, Supervisors. This is Maya Daniels with the Transitina Coalition and one of 6 co-chairs of Immigrants Are Los Angeles. We are in definite support for this motion brought forth by Supervisor Hahn and Supervisor Solis, as there is no reason for law enforcement of any kind to conceal their identities and detain people in unmarked vehicles. Hiding the way you are to be identified only further shows that their actions are shameful and something to be hidden. This also makes it increasingly more difficult for family members and loved ones to track where their people are being taken away to, growing further away from transparency in the hopes that these people will be lost to the obscurity. This is an intentional decision by federal agencies that further causes chaos, confusion, and abuse to our communities. Thank you so much for this motion.
Thank you. Next caller.
Rachel Stewart, your line is open. You may begin.
My name is Rachel Kameta Escobar, and Filipino American resident of Southeast LA County and member of various community-based service, peace, faith, inclusion, equity, and justice advocacy groups. I'm offended and saddened by the reckless, violent, and inhumane actions of these masked federal agents. As a believer and follower of Christ, I'm calling out what the current federal administration is doing to severely and intentionally victimize immigrants, people of color, and many other residents of this county, including very young children. These federal agents have chosen to be employed, paid, and execute orders given to them. Therefore, when they are in our communities that interact with the public, they should live with the shame of their choices to conduct this kind of heartless work. I hope and pray their consciences and hearts would let them see what they're doing is breaking apart families and communities. Otherwise, they should face the consequences of their brutal and egregious actions. I ask for every board supervisor to support item 14 and put the power of the county leadership to push out these ICE agents.
Thank you. Next caller.
Olga Morello, your line is open. You may begin.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the time to speak. I'm calling in support of item 14. Any mask agent creates fear in our communities. I know we're speaking about ICE specifically. But like everyone has said, it creates fear and terror in our community, and it opens the door to abuse. I think it's imperative that we pass this and also continue the fight, especially you sitting there right now, continue to fight for us in our communities who right now are fearful of stepping out. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
Roy Humphreys, your line is open. You may begin.
Thank you. There are reasonable standards of comportment that are expected and should be enforced. Supervisor Hahn's comparing supervisors to ICE agents is abject absurdity, demeaning, and insulting. Supervisor Solis conflicting a drunk ICE agent in a toilet is a discussion. In this discussion is a talk-down slap in the face to all constituents. Supervisor Barker, council can file charges in federal court, and why haven't you consulted with California federal representatives, senators, the House? Supervisor Mitchell, this is a set of circumstances brought on by county, state, illegal alien criminal activities. Supervisor Horvath, trauma mentioned is self-inflicted. The use of the term vigilante is totally inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Sharon Camacho, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Shannon Camacho, and I'm calling on behalf of Inclusive Action for the City in support of item 14. We are part of the Immigrants RLA Coalition as well. Thank you, Supervisor Hahn and Solis, for this motion. Thanks to the tireless advocacy from directly impacted immigrant communities and organizations, we are now seeing less enforcement on the ground in LA now. However, this does not mean that the fight is over, especially since the Trump administration plans to expand immigration detention and arrests with the billions of dollars going to ICE and Border Patrol. We know this administration will plan more attacks against LA, and we must prepare and protect our communities. These past couple of months, there have been countless incidences of agents in plainclothes wearing tactical gear. I have personally encountered these aggressive agents multiple times, and they refuse to identify themselves. When agents conceal their identities, they create confusion, incite fear, and undermine public trust. It is important that the county hold DHS accountable as well as these agents in order to protect our immigrant communities. I urge the board to approve this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Yesenia Cox, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Yesenia Kush with the Council of Mexican Federations. Speaking on behalf of the Immigrants RLA Coalition, we strongly support this motion. Recently, we've seen ICE agents with cover faces detaining community members without identifying themselves. Families are left in fear and confusion, unsure of where their loved ones were taken or by whom. This behavior is dehumanizing and dangerous. Allowing any officers to operate in secrecy invites abuse and violates the principle of transparency and accountability. Our communities deserve to know who is enforcing the law. Whether it's ICE or local agents, officers must be required to show their faces and badges. Anything less opens the door to unchecked harm. This motion is a necessary step toward protecting our rights and restoring trust. We urge you to vote yes. We stand with the communities most impacted by this kind of violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Ashley Brady, your line is open. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Ashley Brady, and I am one of the co-founders of a queer feminist nonprofit called the Feminist Uprising, and I am calling in today to strongly support Supervisors Hahn and Solis's proposed ordinance to ban law enforcement, including ICE, from concealing their identities. Masked ICE agents are abducting people in our communities without identifying themselves or even following the law. As a woman and as a woman who leads a queer feminist nonprofit, this is outrageous. Women are getting stolen off the streets. Kids are getting stolen off the streets. Men come in and can do anything they want to women, and we are just letting them. We need to be better. This behavior is unlawful and terrifying. And it is now how law enforcement should behave in a democracy? No. Officers must be required to show their faces and badges so they can be held accountable. I urge the board to pass this ordinance immediately. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Next caller.
Miggy Murillo, your line is open. You may begin.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie. I am an LA resident, born and raised. I noticed that everyone's time to talk here is limited, and let's be honest, people will get skipped. So I don't even know if I'm being listened to by someone who actually cares or someone who's just clocking in for the day, but I'll say this anyway. ICE agents are showing up in our neighborhoods wearing masks, tactical gear, refusing to show their names or badges. That's not just shady, it's cowardly. If they believe in what they're doing is right, why are they hiding? No one forced them to take that job, and if they hate it so much that they feel they need to hide their faces, they can quit. They can walk away. There are thousands of better ways to earn a paycheck than terrorizing families under a mask. And if they do like this job, if they enjoy storming homes, driving people out, separating children from their parents, then they absolutely must show their faces because the public has every right to know who is harming them, and they deserve to live with the weight of their choices without the protection of anonymity. This is Los Angeles County. You do not get to come into our streets
Thank
like
you.
ghosts
Next
and
caller.
expect silence in return. Show your face.
Gabrielle Maldonado, you may begin. Your line is open.
Hi there, my name is Gaudena Maldonado, and I'm a Compton resident. I've seen firsthand how ICE operations have terrorized our communities, and I was there when the first big ICE raid happened at the border between Paramount and Compton. I've watched agents with their face covered and refuse to identify themselves as they detain people within our neighborhoods. It was absolutely terrifying, and families have been left without answers and not knowing who had taken their loved one or where they had been taken. I believe that this kind of secrecy is a clear abuse of power, and I fully support the Supervisor Hahn and Solis's proposals to ban law enforcement from hiding their identities. We deserve a transparency. We deserve to know who is enforcing the law, especially when ICE brings fear and violence into our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Joanna Ortiz, your line is open. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. Thank you so much for addressing this issue. I serve as a chairperson for the Community Advisory Committee in the Southeast Area, District 4, under Janice Hahn, and we stand united. We stand united in backing this measure. I'm sure the feds regret using us as an example for putting these ICE agents out there to do this, because we are not going to stand for it. I'm proud of you women that are backing us and supporting your residents. Watching the news, watching this all unfold, it looks like we live in a third world country. So keep up the good work. I'm here to support you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Diaz Steele, your line is open. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Das. I am a 60-year Los Angeles County resident. I come from a law enforcement family background. I worked for law enforcement as a civilian, and I do not support this ordinance. I 100% say no to it, and I would hope that you would vote no. I'm offended that Hahn and Solis have put this forward, and thereby endangering law enforcement who are doing their jobs. ICE and every federal, state, and local level agent doing their job to protect legal American citizens. All illegals should be deported, and if they have to get picked up by ICE or anybody else, that's the way it should be. I've processed people that were arrested, and they were here illegally, and they should have been deported, and they weren't. So I do not support this. It is absolutely a slap in the face. It creates fear.
Before we go on to the next caller, given the number of remaining speakers who have signed, continue to sign up to speak on item 14, in order to finish today's meeting efficiently and address all agenda items, the time for public comment on this item will be limited to 15 more minutes. It is now 1:15. Public comment on this item will end at 1:30. We will take, I think we have 5 members in the audience, so we'll take the next 8 callers, and then we will switch to the public in person. So go ahead.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yasica Quintana, your line is open. You may begin.
Good afternoon. I'm part of Jessica Quintana and Centro Cha, nonprofit in the city of Long Beach, who are the largest Latino serving and immigrant serving organization. We are outraged by ICE agents in LA County abducting people without identification or respect for the law. This is a direct attack on our communities and basic human rights in our democracy. The ordinance by Supervisors Hahn and Solis to ban face coverings for all law enforcement, including ICE, is essential. We must demand transparency and accountability to stop these unlawful, terrifying tactics. Please vote yes and protect our communities from this abuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Arena Laransky, your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ariana Lemarsky. I want to speak, and I support this measure. I want to speak on the issue of how to enforce this law. Even if it's difficult to enforce, if citizens know that it's illegal for law enforcement to wear masks, then citizens can recognize, these officers as criminals and protect loved ones appropriately. So even if we cannot enforce ICE to take off their masks, citizens can feel more comfortable doing what they need to do to protect their loved ones from masked men if they know that the law is on their side to do so. So I very highly encourage this motion to go through, even if it's difficult to enforce. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Griselda Soares, your line is open. You may begin.
Griselda, please begin.
Thank you so much. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Griselda Suarez, and I am in District 4 in Long Beach. I am outraged by the ICE agents in LA County abducting people without identification or respect for the law. This is a direct attack on our communities and basic human rights in democracy. The ordinance by Supervisor Hahn and Solis to ban face coverings for all law enforcement, including ICE, is essential for our safety. We must demand transparency and accountability to stop these unlawful, terrifying tactics. Please vote yes and protect our communities from this abuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Janet Hund, your line is open. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. My name is Dr. Janae Hund, and I am a Lakewood resident, and I'm also Dean of Arts at Long Beach City College, where we welcome all students at our college, and I'm outraged by ICE agents in LA County abducting people without identification or respect for the law. This is a direct attack on our communities and our basic human rights in a democracy. The ordinance by Supervisors Hahn and Solis to ban face coverings for all law enforcement, including ICE, is essential. We must demand transparency and accountability to stop these unlawful, terrifying, and racist tactics. Please vote yes and protect our communities and our students from this abuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Melissa Villegas, your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Melissa Villegas. I'm a case manager for domestic violence survivors. I strongly support Supervisor Hahn and Solis' proposed ordinance to ban law enforcement, including ICE, from concealing their identities. Masked ICE agents are abducting people in our communities without identifying themselves or following the law. Less victims are coming forward to report incidents of domestic violence, seeking restraining orders, and seeking support for themselves out of fear. This adds one more barrier for survivors. Officers must be required to show their faces and badges so they can be held accountable. The ICE agents who have been arrested for crimes they've committed have been held accountable only because we were able to identify them. Think about who else is hiding under those masks. I urge the board to pass this ordinance immediately. Survivors are counting on us, and this is a step in the right direction. Let's keep them all accountable. Lastly, no one is illegal on
Thank
stolen
you.
land.
Next caller.
Thank you.
Nicholas Dahlquist, your line is open. You may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Dahlquist, and I'm a resident of Venice. I strongly support the proposed motion, both in the interest of public safety and our shared constitutional rights. We must not allow thugs and vigilantes to continue to terrorize our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Rachel Axelrod, your line is open. You may begin.
My name is Rachel, and I'm an LUSD public school teacher, and I am strongly in favor of this ordinance proposed by Supervisors Hahn and Solis. My students and their families have spent their entire summer inside in absolute terror because the masked individuals kidnapping people off the street has completely undermined public trust. Your Angelenos are terrified to their core, and it's heart-wrenching. The Trump administration gains power when we preemptively acquiesce and allow unconstitutional and authoritarian practices to go unchecked. I'm thankful that Supervisors Hahn and Solis are willing to fight back. Fear of legal challenges from the federal government is not an excuse to avoid doing the right thing. Please stand up for your Angelenos. Ask that law enforcement behave like this is a democracy. Please support this motion and show what Los Angeles values in the face of fascism. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Crystal Divas Guerrero, your line is open. You may begin.
Hello. My name is Crystal Divas Guerrero. I am with Spirit Family Services. I am calling in support of item 14, which will ban all law enforcement, including ICE agents, from concealing their identities and wearing masks while interacting with the public in unincorporated LA County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Adriana Garcia, your line is open. You may begin.
Please go ahead.
All right, we're now going to go to public comment from people in the audience.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Again, my name is Elizabeth Long, supporting the ordinance proposed by Supervisor Solis and Hahn. Federal agents must be required to clearly identify themselves and not wear masks when operating in our communities. This isn't just a legal issue, it's a public safety concern. As Supervisor Solis has pointed out, there's already been documented incidences of impersonators posing as law enforcement. When agents are unidentified and masked, how can the public tell the difference between a legitimate officer and a dangerous imposter? This lack of identification erodes trust, creates fear, and opens the door to abuse. We need transparency and accountability. Agents must identify themselves by their name and badge number, wear visible badges, and display agency markings at all times. The safety of our residents depends on it. Vote yes on this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Valenzuela. I'm from South Whittier, and I'm coming to request that you support this ordinance to protect the public from ICE and their complete disregard for the Fourth Amendment and the complete disregard to the Bill of Rights. I request that your ordinance is proactive against this fascism that's disguised as conservatism, and that's emerging now. As I mentioned before, I'm from South Whittier, the unincorporated area, and this area is already marginalized and is underrepresented. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, Claudia Jerez, DPSS, Delta Women's Center. I would say not wearing a mask equals goodwill, transparency, and the golden rule. And then wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, wearing a mask, I guess, all right. So not wearing a mask is vegetarianism, I guess, secretive disposition, and mistrust. So it creates those things, mistrust, creates a barrier for, what is it? I guess it creates a barrier for, dialogue and diminishes community building. So I guess we have to decide if we want to have the golden rule or we want to.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Taylor Smith. I am in support of this ordinance. I'm also a frontline supporter, a protester. I've been dealing with ICE since June. So the fact that we have to wait 60 days for this ordinance to hit is already kind of wild. We've already had 60 days of terror. I don't want 60 more days. I'm exhausted. I should be at work right now. In addition to that, it's very apparent that DHS is supporting and protecting ICE. And it's also very apparent that LAPD is supporting and babysitting DHS. So to answer your question as to, well, who's going to uphold this new law, it should be LAPD. They're at the detention center. I'm there every day. I see ICE masquerading as Marines now. LAPD, instead of harassing protesters, they should be there keeping us safe and doing their jobs. In addition, when I go to those trainings, they say, don't tell LAPD it's nice, right? They say it's a kidnapping because LAPD won't come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Eddie. Does my appearance make you feel uncomfortable? Because it should. I walked into this building doing this, wearing this, and the law enforcement didn't know what to do with me. They were confused, they didn't know what to do. They tried to say, take off your mask, and I said, I'm a patriot. Trump says I'm a patriot. I'm allowed to do this. They said that I am a trespasser, and I said, fine. I don't have an issue with this. This is obviously a statement. You guys are not going to know how to enforce this law. I appreciate the sentiment. I really do. I know, Barger, I appreciate everything you said because you are telling the truth. One thing is, what you could do is allow the county or LA people, allow civilians to pull down those masks. Allow them having protections. I know it's a federal thing, but you guys have the money to give funds to protect us, have our city attorneys fight for the people that do pull down the mask, that are brave enough to pull down the mask. You guys can help us, protect us. The civilians are going to be the ones that fight for the...
Thank you. Madam Chair and members of the board, that concludes public comment on this item. Item 14 is before you.
Executive Officer, we're voting on item number 14. We'll have a motion by Supervisor Hahn, seconded by Supervisor Solis. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Solis?
Aye.
Supervisor Solis, aye. Supervisor Mitchell?
Aye.
Supervisor Mitchell, aye. Supervisor Horvath?
Aye.
Supervisor Horvath, aye. Supervisor Hahn?
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Supervisor Barger?
Abstain.
Supervisor Barger abstains. Motion carries 4 ayes and 1 abstention.
Thank you. We're going to go out of order and take up item number 17.